So, what happens when you mix ancient spiritual practices with modern-day e-commerce? That's really the big question behind a company called Mindflowers. They're building an entire brand on this idea of conscious living. But what does it actually mean when it comes down to business?
Well, this is their tagline, their whole philosophy, really. And it tells you right off the bat, they're not just moving products off a shelf. They're selling an ideal, a lifestyle that's all about self-improvement and spiritual connection. All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with their whole concept of conscious living. Then we'll get into their two main paths, the products and the experiences. We'll even dive into their 12-day retreat and their use of so-called sacred medicine, before we piece it all together to see what their modern wellness blueprint really looks like.
Okay, so first up, a call to conscious living. At its heart, Mindflowers is trying to be more than just a store. The idea is to be a kind of toolkit, for helping people find what they call a harmonious and awakened life. And they really position their brand as a gateway. They're making a pretty clear promise here. If you're looking for a deeper connection with your mind, your body, and your spirit, then they want to be the place where that journey begins. So how do you turn a philosophy like that into an actual business? Well, it turns out Mindflowers works on two parallel tracks. There are the things you can buy, and then there are the experiences you can live.
So you've got two sides to the coin here. On one side, sacred offerings. That's their online shop, full of tangible stuff for your daily life. On the other, soulful experiences. These are the big, immersive events like retreats. The real genius is how these two sides feed each other, creating this complete lifestyle bubble.
So let's dig into those products first. What kind of sacred offerings are we actually talking about for your, daily ritual?
Turns out their inventory is, it's huge and incredibly diverse. You can find everything from Ayurvedic remedies and medicinal mushrooms to shamanic tools and even clothing. They're really trying to be a one-stop shop for this entire conscious lifestyle. Let's look at an example. They have this holy smoke blend. It's sold as a tobacco substitute, which is a perfect window into their strategy, right? They're taking a common habit and giving it a wellness spin.
Then you've got something like this Jarema Preta powder from their shamanic collection. This shows they're also speaking to a much more niche customer, someone who's maybe already pretty deep into these traditional practices.
And to round it out, something more mainstream, like this Ayurvedic Shilajit resin. So when you put these together, you can really see how they're balancing these pretty esoteric products with stuff that's way more accessible to a broader audience.
Okay, so that's the products. But now, let's talk about the other half of their business, these immersive experiences. And the main event here is their 12-day transformation retreat.
And yeah, the first thing that jumps out is the commitment. This isn't just a weekend getaway. We're talking about a full 12-day deep dive. And that journey comes with a pretty hefty price tag. This really signals that it's a premium, high-end experience that requires a serious investment from participants.
So what do you get for that investment? Well, the whole retreat is basically built on these 4 pillars. They're trying to create this holistic thing that combines healing, creativity, nature, and of course, community.
And they bring these pillars to life with a really packed and varied schedule. I mean, you've got everything from super relaxing stuff like yoga nidra to creative things like mandala weaving, plus jungle hikes, drum circles, and cacao ceremonies. It's the whole shebang.
But there's another really central and, let's be honest, pretty unique part of this retreat. And that's the use of what they call sacred medicine.
Now, Mindflowers is super clear about this. They say these are not for recreation. They frame them as natural plant medicines, used with full guidance, specifically to help with healing and becoming more aware of your body.
So what's the point? Well, according to the company, these guided practices are meant to be tools to help people release stress, tap into deeper states of awareness, and ultimately just get a clearer connection with themselves. Of course, this immediately brings up questions about safety and legality, right? They address that head-on. They state, and I'm quoting here, that all substances used in the retreat are 100% legal and safe in our region.
And they really double down on that point. They make it a point to emphasize that the focus is absolutely not on recreation. It's all about healing, body awareness, and that deeper connection to yourself.
Okay, so when you put all these different pieces together, the products, the retreats, the philosophy, what does this model really tell us about the wellness industry today? At the end of the day, their model is this really powerful mix. They're blending the convenience of online shopping with the exclusivity of these high-end, curated experiences. And by wrapping it all up in this spiritual philosophy, they've created a brand where you're not just buying a product, you're buying into an entire lifestyle.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about.
This mashup of ancient ritual and modern commerce, it's not just mind flowers, it's a massive trend. So what does this powerful combination really tell us about our very modern search for meaning?